Hello everyone. So today I'm going to be doing a super duper fun video. I got this idea from Jess from Peace Love Books, and I think she got it from Sam Reads a Little. I'll link both videos down below. But I'm going to be sharing my favorite authors, and then I'm going to talk about my favorite book by them and least favorite book. So I'm really excited to get into this. I have so many great authors, and I'll finally get to share with you some of my favorites that you might not know. So let's get right into it. The first book I'm going to share with you, or author, is Gianna Darling. I'm going to start with best, my favorite, and then least favorite. So my favorite is Inked in Lies. I absolutely love this book. This is a friends to lovers motorcycle romance book, and it's in the Fall of Men series. I just did a guide on Gianna Darling, so if you want to read some of her books and want to know where to start, I'll also link that down below, so you can check that out if you want. So this one, like I said, is friends to lovers, and our heroine Lila, she's in a really bad home situation. So her and her brother get to go live with the hero's family, and it's very found family vibes. And Lila is always pined after Nova, but he doesn't want to cross that line. He doesn't think he could love her the way she needs to be loved. And so years later, she decides to be like, you know what, I'm done with you. I'm going to find somebody for me, even if I'm still in love with you. And so she gets a fiance, and everything's going really good for her. And then she finds out there's this pornographic site that is exploring young girls. And so she's like, I'm going to go undercover for the MC to get intel on them. And then Nova finds out, and he's super protective over her. And he's a tattoo artist, and he tattoos flowers all over her body because flowers are kind of her thing. And I just love this book so much. I ended up tabbing it when I did a whole reread of this series. But this book in the series is just incredible. And then the book that is my least favorite is Enthralled. This is a dark sex slavery romance, and so our heroine is an Italian model, and her father sells her into sexual slavery to this man who's this duke in England. And I can't really say much more because it kind of spoils it. And it's not that I hated this book. I gave this one 4 stars. It just wasn't my absolute favorite from Gianna Darling. But it's very interesting, and the ending has some interesting parts. But it's just my least favorite of hers. Okay, so the next author is Penelope Douglas, and I absolutely adore Penelope Douglas. This was actually really hard to choose which book I wanted to mention, and so I'm just going to go with my current favorite right now, and that's Kill Switch. This is Damon's story. It's the 3rd book in the Corrupt series, and Damon has been kind of the villain the past 2 books in this series. He's definitely an anti-hero. And when he finds out that Winter is coming back into his life, he kind of is like, okay, girl. And so he's trying to get with her / mess with her a little bit, but they have a past. And Winter is blind. And Damon kind of played a part in her becoming blind. And it's there's lots of twists and turns in this book. It's just super fun. Even though it's humongous, it is so worth it. I just love Damon's character and getting more of his past and why he is the way he is and why he does these bad things, because we don't really get an explanation in the other books. But I just absolutely love this book. I love Damon and Winter. I love the little games they played with each other, and it's just so good. And then my least favorite is in the Fall Away series, and that's The Next Flame. This one is 2 novellas and 1 book. It just was kind of a buffer, just giving a little bit more HEA kind of, but not, and kind of making characters not be together so that there's more angst and more to read from the characters. But I mean, I still enjoyed it, but I also find it a little annoying. But then I do like the other novella in here, which is about one of the characters' parents. The character is going to be in her new series, the off spin of the series. But I did enjoy this. I gave this one 4 stars. but it's just my least favorite. But I absolutely love Penelope Douglas, and even my least favorite is a 4-star from her, so I would love her. Okay, so the next 2 ones I'm going to share with you. My favorite, this is one of my favorite authors of all time, and that's Kristen and Becca Richie. And the one I wanted to share with you is Hot House Flower. This is the first book in Reich and Daisy's, in the Calloway Sister series about Reich and Daisy, and it's just absolutely amazing. So many things are packed into this book. Emotion. Reich and Daisy have kind of always pined after each other, and they have never had the opportunity to be together, and Daisy has a lot of PTSD, and Reich helps her with that. He'll like stay the night with her as a friend and like be there for her, which I love. And they go on this really, really fun road trip with the whole gang, and they go camping, and Rose, if you know Rose, she like freaks out. It's so funny. But I just love this book. There's so much emotion. Daisy is a model, and her mom's always kind of forced her to be a model, and she doesn't want to be a model anymore, so she's trying to like confront her mom about that. There's just so many things that go on in this book that I just absolutely love. The next, my least favorite by Kristen and Becca Richie so far is Thrive. Now, I feel like this book like shouldn't have been a book. This is like, it's not that I hate it that much, but it was just annoying. So this is about Lily and Lo, but basically we already get this book from a different couple's perspective, but then we're just getting it from Lily and Lo's perspective to just keep going on with their story. But it's kind of pointless if you're reading this series back to back and you're just like rereading basically everything that happened in the book before it. So it's kind of boring. I did not love it. But I still love Kristen and Becca Richie. I love the characters. This just felt pointless, so that's how I feel about it. Okay, so the next author is Candy Steiner, and I received this one for an ARC a couple years ago, and this is Close Quarters. This is such a great read from her. It's like this and A Love Letter to Whiskey are my favorites from her. But I don't know, I like this a little bit more. I love being like ripped emotionally open by her, but I'm gonna go with this one for this video. So our heroine is a photographer, and her boyfriend is working on this yacht for the summer in Europe, and she's going to go like touring around Europe doing photography and taking pictures to help her portfolio. And so she goes on this yacht, like saying goodbye to her boyfriend, and then the owner of the yacht sees her, and it's like instantly kind of like, ooh, she's interesting. And she's like, well, I'm gonna go travel Europe on my own and take photos. And he's like, well, you can do that. He's like, let me give you a job opportunity. And he's like, I will let you stay on the yacht for free if you take some photos for me for my company, but then you can basically take all of those amazing pictures from the yacht and travel to these different locations, and it's like a really cool opportunity. And she's like, sure. So she goes on the yacht with her boyfriend, and some things happen, and the owner just keeps wanting her and pushing for her, and she wants him too, but there's no cheating on her part. But then there's a crazy twist in the middle, and it's just so picturesque, like the Europe, and it's specifically around the Mediterranean, and it was just so beautiful, and I loved this book so much, and just how much the hero wanted her, but not in like a weird way. I just love this book, top tier. And then my least favorite Candy Steiner is probably The Right Player. I just didn't love this one as much. This is like a continuum of her, like The Wrong Game, I think. But The Right Player, our heroine is an interior designer, and she meets this guy, and she's really like interested in him, and he's super sweet, and that's our hero, and she's like designing his apartment for him. But he is a football player, and she has sworn off all football players because of something that happened in college. And so he does not tell her like the whole book that he is a football player. And it was just like you felt like the ending was inevitable, and it was really irritating. But I did love the hero a lot. He was super, super sweet, which I loved, but it was just very annoying that it like went on for so long, like of him not telling her, and we knew how, you know how the ending's gonna end, you know what I mean? So that was just kind of an irritating book to me, but I do really love Katie Steiner, and she writes some fantastic books. I just didn't love that one. Okay. So the next author I have to share with you is Jessica Hawkins. So my favorite, you will definitely have to read this series in order, but my favorite is Move the Stars. This is the third book in the Something in the Way series. And this is about Lake and Manning, and this is, the third book is kind of when things pick up. They may or may not start a relationship, and the whole series surrounds Lake, and it starts in the 90s where she sees this guy on construction like at the neighboring house to hers, and she really likes him, but she's 16 and he's like 24 or something, and then her sister sets eyes on him, and her sister starts trying to have a relationship with Manning, and Manning just is going along with it because he knows he can't have Lake. And just things go off from there, and it's insane. It's very, very emotional, draining. There's so much longing and pining, but the third book is my favorite because that's when things start picking up romantically between Lake and Manning, and I just absolutely love it. It's so perfect. My least favorite is, I don't remember what the book is called, but I'll put it up here. And basically, it's about like this woman who is in a relationship, but then they're like running out of money, and she decides to have this like man come up to her with a proposition where if she has sex, like has one night with him, he'll like pay her $1 million or something. And so she does that, and it like messes up her relationship with her fiance and all this stuff. It was okay. It was, I think, one of her first series. It just wasn't my favorite. So, but the next author is none other than Mariana Zapata. My favorite from her is All Roads Lead Here. This one is just fantastic. Our heroine recently lost her mother, and she decides to go back to her hometown that she grew up in to kind of feel close to her mother. She doesn't really know what happened to her mom. Her body was never found. And her mother loved hiking, so she decides to move back in town to hike all of her favorite trails and kind of give memory to her. And so she's staying at this apartment over this garage, and she finds out that the owner of the house doesn't even know that she was coming to stay there because his son set it all up. And the owner is very grumpy. It's very grumpy sunshine. And he is like, fine, I'll let you stay, only for like a month, and then you have to find something else. And she's like, okay. But then he slowly starts letting her in and caring about her, and he gets really worried when she goes on hikes, and it's just amazing. I really love this book. He just felt like this big bear that wanted to encompass her, and I just loved that about him. And it was very picturesque with like the mountains and the hiking and all that stuff, and I kind of related to it because I kind of hate hiking, and she didn't love hiking, but she did it because she wanted to like preserve the memory of her mom. But I just love this book. It is so, so good. And then my least favorite by Mariana Zapata is probably The Wall of Winnipeg and Me. That's just because I read this a while ago and really have no memory of it. I need to do a reread of it. I know it's marriage at convenience, a football player, and he, if he doesn't get married, he's going to be sent back to Canada, and so she marries him, and he's very grumpy, and that's all I really know. But I remember, so I definitely should do a reread of that. It's not, I think I gave it 5 stars, but I just don't really remember it, if that makes sense. Alright, the next author is one that I talk about way too much, but I just love her so much, and that's Kalia Reed. So my favorite is The Reigning and the Rule. This is the second book, and it's so good. This is a time travel romance, and I just absolutely love it. This, something happens in the first book at the end where she is kind of, I'm not going to say anything, but this one is just super angsty, and it may or may not be a little bit love triangle-y for a specific reason. But the first book is basically about this woman who she finds this old photograph of these 4 men, and she's a history antiquer. and she takes a photo from her antique shop, and then she ends up like time traveling to that time, and she meets one of the guys in the photo, and she's like, wow, that's crazy. And she finds out that he thinks she is his wife, and she actually is a doppelganger that looks exactly like her and is his wife, but she is trying to prove to him that she's from another time, and she transported it into 1912 in like the South, and it's at this big, beautiful southern like manor and mansion, and it's very detailed and really, really good. I love this book series, and this one just gets even more angstier and crazier. And then my least favorite from her is, I only give it 4 stars, or maybe 5, I can't really, I think I gave it 4 stars, and that's King of the South. I just remember this being really long, and not necessarily needed to be, and this is a spin-off series from the Belgrade Dynasty, or this is the Belgrade Dynasty series, and I don't remember, but anyways, this is about the other hero's older, or his brother, because they're twins, and I think it's marriage inconvenient, or she's trying to find a husband, and this is all historical romance, and it's kind of like The Bachelor or Bachelorette, and it's during like 1920s-ish, and the hero is just so jealous of her and wants her, so he's trying to like help her find a husband, but then they like fall in love. I just don't remember this that well. I remember enjoying it, but not being like my absolute favorite from Kalia Reed. Okay, so the next author is Pam Godwin. So this one is no surprise, and that Sea of Ruin is my favorite. I absolutely love Sea of Ruin. This is a pirate romance, and so our heroine, she has to take over her father's ship, and it's like starts in the past a little bit, but then it tells you like why she has to take over the ship, and then it goes to the present where she has like an ex-husband, and he cheated on her, and he is trying to hunt her down to get her back, but then she gets captured by a pirate hunter. It's very action-packed. It is a dark romance, so definitely go check out the triggers for this one, but it's just absolutely amazing. This is one of my favorite pirate romances of all time. It is just fantastic. I don't want to give away too much because you should really go in blind with this one because there's just so many twists and turns, but I absolutely love it. And then my least favorite by Pam Godwin is the second book in her Cowboy series. I love the first book, but I just didn't love the second book, and I give it 3 stars, I think. And this one, they kidnap a reporter because she is going to like report on like the ranch and stuff, and it kind of feels like Yellowstone-y. And then she gets into a relationship with one of the brothers of, or like the other brother of the hero in the first book. And it gets like BDSM, and it just felt very like insta-lovey, but I love the first book. Definitely go check the first book out. That one's Knotted. It's amazing, but I just didn't love this one that much, and that's okay. So the next author is, I'm really excited, and it's Sophie Lark. So my favorite by her is probably The Bully. I just love Dean so much. He's one of my favorite heroes of all time. He is so dark and twisted inside, but he really cares about the heroine. And so Dean finds out something about Kat in the last book, and he is like, I'm gonna hold this over your head, I'm gonna make you do whatever I want, and something that turns a little sexual. So this whole series is basically about this mafia college where the heirs of like mafia people go to learn about like the mafia world and all that stuff. And so Kat finds out this information, and Dean wants to hold this information over her head, and he gets obsessed with her, and it's just really fantastic. I just love this book so much. This whole series is incredible. Dean, I just love how dark and twisted he is, and there's lots of steamy scenes in here, very interesting steamy scenes, and I just love this book so much. And then my least favorite by Sophie Lark is the second book in this duet. It's a serial killer romance. It just felt a little flat on the second book. I gave it 3 stars. But the first book I absolutely love. It's not that I hated the second book. It's just like it got a little slower, but then it picked up at the end. But this one is about two painters, and there's this like serial killer going around killing women, and he kind of sets his sights on the heroine, and the hero is trying to protect her, and it's really good. I don't want to say too much because it'll give a lot away, but just know it's fantastic. And then the last author I want to share with you is Devony Perry. So my favorite from her is probably Juniper Hill. This is a single mom romance, kind of grumpy, sunshiny. Well, not really. He's kind of grumpy and she's a little grumpy because of what she's had to deal with. But anyways, this is a small town romance, and so our heroine, she's moving to this small town in Montana. She has basically a newborn baby. She was kicked out from her family. Her family was really rich, and didn't understand why she didn't want to stay with the father of her child. So she moves out to Montana on her own, and she's staying in the hero's like apartment building, or not apartment building, like the apartment over his garage, I think. And her baby like cries every night. She can't help soothe him, and then she's like scared that he's gonna be mad at her. But he just goes to her and tries to soothe the baby or hang out with her, and he's the chef at like the local hotel, and it's really good. It's super sweet. I love how he falls in love with her son, and it's just such a fantastic small town romance, and I just absolutely love it. And then my least favorite by Devony Perry, probably, that I've read so far, is the Coppersmith Farmhouse. This was her first book, but I still really enjoyed it. I give it 4 stars. What I found annoying about this one was that the heroine would kind of just make decisions without the heroine's like consent or saying like, yes, that's fine. And all of like Devony Perry's books have a little bit of a thrillery aspect in the small town. So our heroine, she goes, her like a father figure in her life just passed away, and he gave her his old house, and so she moves to this town to go live in this house with her 2 kids, I think. And the hero is very angry at her for being there because he loved the father figure in her life too, and he thinks she's this like gold digging woman, like this gold digger, like made him fall in love with her, took his money away kind of thing. And he's really mean to her in the beginning, but then she like kind of explains it to him. But then he is just very overprotective over her, which I love in books, but then he was so overprotective that he'd make decisions for her when, like, without consulting her, which I found really irritating. But I really love Devony Perry and all of her books. I think, so far that I've read, I've really enjoyed them. So that is the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed it. This was super fun to film. I want to thank Sam and Jess for doing these videos and inspiring me to make my video, because I love doing this. Definitely go check out their videos. I'll link them down below, but that's it for me, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye.